Welcome into this edition of Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We are back for another segment with head coach Josh Blankenship. Chance to sit down and chat about this point in the season, and of course looking ahead to what is the final 2 games of the year. Very important games, of course, coming down on this stretch. We'll recap that or look ahead to that as well. Of course, last home game of the year, and then of course finishing things up on the road as well. We'll get to it later in the show, but would love to talk to you just about being a senior and all these seniors that are going to kind of kick the road off and get going to the next chapter in their lives once things are wrapped up. Last chance potentially to be at home and to play, of course, in front of the fans. But looking back at this game against Union, we'll go ahead and chat about that on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Tough environment. It's really nice. We actually thought about it a little bit before this segment today, just how great it is to have the Tulsa markets in particular have such great environments. These kids get opportunities to play in front of great crowds, great opportunity to have fans travel as well, being so close. Just talk about maybe your preparation with your team going into that and how you think your guys handled it being on the road in Union.
We're familiar with it, and I think sometimes we do take it for granted, all these big-time stadiums, including our own, that we get to go play in, big fan base, and like you said, close enough where your fans can get there too. A lot of these guys that may get an opportunity to go play collegiate ball doesn't mean it's going to be a Division I environment, and I think a lot of the guys that do go D2, D3, JUCO, all of a sudden they're like, well, man, we had it pretty good in those stadiums and those crowds we were playing in front of. So it's definitely a neat thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I look at, of course, just the Oklahoma and the Texas markets in particular. Everybody knows about it. Everybody looks at California, especially the Southern California area. And these kids, they grow up through it, and it's just a regular thing, right? And some of the best talents that maybe come out of those markets do go to smaller markets. And, and all of a sudden, there's not that community investment maybe like there was before. For sure. So it's just nice to be able to see that. Looking at that game, of course, first half, coming out of that half, it was a manageable game there. But just talk about maybe what you found and what you learned about your team throughout that final game.
Jeremiah was an absolute warrior, which we expect him to be. Zane Matthews had a big night. He's really turned into, I feel like we say this every week, he's turned into an absolute weapon. He didn't flinch in the environment. He didn't flinch at who he was going against. Obviously, Jeremiah, he's from Union originally, and so he was excited to be able to go play over there in front of those people. I thought we were doing some good things early offensively, and then we were marching down right before the half in kind of a 1-minute drill and threw a swing route out there that I thought was incomplete, if not his knee also being on the ground. Whistle wasn't blown, so they scooped it up and ran it back, and that was kind of the momentum breaker. And that was hard to overcome going into halftime. But was again pleased with Jeremiah and the offense for coming out and finishing the way they finished. They could have quit, they could have tapped out, we could have put our subs in. We kept them out there as long as we could, and they kept putting points on the board.
Yeah, I think when I look at, of course, players at this point in the season, especially where we're seeing the most growth, and I think Zane Matthews definitely pops up in my head. You're looking at, a lot of options at the wide receiver position, but Zane Matthews, Boudreaux keeps sticking his nose in there as being able to be one of those guys on the list that you have to put up as one of the best for sure. And so I'd like to see that growth out of him for sure. Looking at, of course, the trenches as well for your team as you move forward. We chatted a couple weeks ago just about trying to keep guys in the trenches healthy throughout the year and make sure they're motivated. Got to have that energy level every week and just getting these guys to play their best each week. What did you think about the trenches in that game in particular?
I thought it was our poorest game up front. The week before in the loss against Norman North, you got back into the film and realized that up front we probably played our best game of the year. They had been progressing every week and really getting better and better and better and was not pleased with how we performed because of the ceiling that those guys have. We were below the standard up front, this past Friday night.
Yeah, looking at Union, maybe some things that were unique about them that you saw that you can kind of take into film for your guys this week and really point out, hey, this is where we maybe were missing our assignment, or this is where maybe we're missing a chance to grow going into this Edmond Memorial game. Because like you said, and you've said in the past, especially at this level for these kids, it doesn't matter what the final score might be. There's a chance to get better as individuals, making the team better. So
yeah, that's why we kept the offense out there and the defense out there. We didn't sub when it got out of hand. We needed those reps. There's a lot of corrections that always can be made. But the biggest thing is how fast can we emotionally put that down and move on to the next one? Because it was a little out of character for how we performed. And I choose to believe we're the team that's been productive all year, not the team that played Friday night.
Yeah, and I talked about it a little bit off air just with some people after that game, of course, and there's an attitude about this BA team that's unique, and it's on to the next one. And I think that comes down from, of course, the coaching staff to the players. You're doing a great job of communicating that as far as that attitude's concerned. What's practice been like this week, looking at your guys and making sure that, hey, what happened last week is over with. It's an opportunity to learn from it. And have you felt like this has been a good week of practice?
I do. But I say that every week. I mean, this is one of the best practice teams I've ever had. It took them 3 or 4 weeks to learn how to prep all the way up to game time. Would have, early in the season, we would have a really good Monday, a really good Tuesday. Wednesday was okay. We had a few weeks back, we had a poor Thursday, but still we're able to squeak out the win in that game, and they learned their lesson. And they've really become a phenomenal practice team. The secret sauce we're looking for is how do we carry that into 4 quarters of play on Friday night. We haven't quite gotten there yet to play a complete game. So that's the next step, and I'm hoping we see that this week because they know how to prep. They know how to practice. They do a great job of it, and we got to get it all the way into the 4 quarters on Friday.
As time goes on, you get more film on some of your younger players. You've had a unique opportunity to not be a senior-heavy team in the sense that a lot of talent does come from those underclassmen as well. And so what's been the most exciting thing you've seen about the growth of those players and knowing that they just have so much more time to get developed, not only as individuals, but underneath your system as well, where they get comfortable. They trust that playbook. They trust what they're doing on an individual basis at practice. And it can be overwhelming being at the varsity level, even as a sophomore for some of these guys where you don't want to go through the motions, but sometimes you're still learning the game of football, the X's and O's of it, to where once you start to understand the game more, those practice reps can be more useful because you truly know what you're doing in the moment. And how have you seen that growth from these younger guys?
It's become, and I'm still looking through an offensive lens here in this conversation, but it's become more second nature. The playbook, the scheme. I specifically think of Octavian and our running backs. Where there's a lot of things that they have to know by memory as far as their alignment, based on the play. We don't always tell them where they're supposed to align. They have to performance align based on what's been called. That's become second nature to them. They see a signal. They are automatically, triggering on what they need to do. It's not something that they're having to process for a few seconds. It's become automatic for them. Receivers, same way. Tight ends, same way. Offensive line, they get a call. They know what their rules are. They communicate. So once you get there, then you get to really grow in your execution. And we've talked about this, but I think the biggest step that we're trying to make is situational football and an understanding of, it's 4th and 1, you have to do this. It's 4th and 10, you have to do this. We're on the goal line, you cannot do this. Situation stuff that only comes from experience, but I'm pleased with the progress that those are the things that we're learning to do with the young group.
No doubt. Looking ahead, of course, we'll get to chat with some players on this segment as well coming up. But looking ahead, we'll go ahead and go to our next segment. It's going to be Edmond Memorial on the schedule next. We'll break down that matchup here with head coach Josh Blankenship. Then, of course, afterwards, we'll make sure that we check in, of course, about senior night. It's an important night for a lot of seniors. We'll be back on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
Hey, Broken Arrow fans! Score big with TTCU Federal Credit Union's School Pride Card. Each time you use your card, we donate to Broken Arrow Public Schools, adding to the $2.5 million we've given statewide. TTCU, where members are raving fans.
For families who like to build their wealth while staying liquid, we have flexible rate CDs to keep your funds working hard, even when you're not. First National Bank of Broken Arrow. The right balance.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Chance to look ahead. Edmond Memorial on the schedule. I think everybody's sort of chatting a little bit about, of course, the talent at the quarterback position for this team, but checking in on the BA Tigers for this matchup coming up. Week's already going. Weeks are going to be already almost done with, of course, by the time this episode comes out. And what has the preparation this week looked like against Edmond Memorial, and some things that you're really excited about for this game?
Yeah, I think it's one of those opponents where outside of their quarterback, who is elite, it's a bunch of just really good high school football players. They've got a couple of interior D linemen that are big, strong, twitchy, but I feel like we see guys like that every week, so that's not unusual. What they are, I kind of compare them to like an Army, a Navy, an Air Force. They're unbelievably disciplined. They're unbelievably confident in what they're doing, and because of that, they play extremely, extremely hard. It's admirable. I mean, that's what every coach wants to see out of their team is the fanatical effort that they play with, and that's carried them. They're playing great defense. They're holding people to low points. And then their quarterback and a couple of their receivers that they have are very dangerous and have the ability to be very explosive at times. So, one of the challenges outside of the norm is focus on us and do our jobs. 1-0 sense of urgency mindset. It's district play. We're trying to lock in a position in the playoffs, and we'll talk about seeding if we can go take care of this one and getting an even better seed the following week. But can we match their effort? As hard as they play, that's the challenge we're putting in front of the kids this week is will you go play as hard as they do, and will you exceed their effort level?
Yeah, I think a part of the, of course, matching the effort is matching, of course, the ability to confirm discipline plays within the play, right? I mean, I think when you look at a disciplined team, or you look at a team that really holds teams to not a ton of points, it's teams that aren't, giving up penalty yards a lot. And how have you seen your team grow in that way, making sure you limit penalties throughout ball games? And then maybe what are some things you guys are trying to do to make sure that is tracking?
I think our penalties have cut way down. I don't think we had any pre-snap penalties. We had a couple of errant snaps, but we finally have cut out a bunch of pre-snap penalties on offense. On defense, we've cut out all the personal foul, extra junk that can kill you. What we've really got to grow on, in my opinion, is ball security on offense. I think guys straining, we've talked about this before, trying to do a little bit more than they need to, and ball security is compromised. Defensively, we've got to tackle better. For whatever reason, on Friday night, we didn't want to tackle, and that's something that we work on every day. We've been tackling relatively well leading up to last week, so I want to see a big jump in how we're tackling.
Yeah, looking at the boundary typically, or really looking outside of what is seen as the trenches, tackling an open field on the edges. As a coach that's been able to watch this at the high school level for a while, when there's a lack of an ability to maybe make plays in the open field, what do you think are some keys in really teaching players on how to get better at that? There's so many different ways to teach how to tackle an open field. A lot of coaches may say be very aggressive. Maybe some coaches, based on the talent they have, are wanting more of a containment track ability. What is your opinion just on that method of trying to get guys to make plays on the outside?
It's constant teaching, constant emphasis, constant working on it. You've got pursuit angles that you work every day. You've got, depending on where you're aligned on the field, which hip you're tracking. If you've got contain, you're trying to turn everything back into where all your buddies are. But the biggest thing on tackling for us is we don't want to break down, stop our feet, and then let an athletic guy make you look foolish. So we want to long stride through the hit. We're trying to tackle the thigh board. When that's a full speed activity. And when you do that and you take your shot, even if you don't get him down, if you're tracking it the right way and you're doing it the way you're coached to do, you should have another guy, 2, 3, 4, the rest of your teammates rallying with you.
Looking at Edmond Memorial in particular, I think everybody, as far as the fan base goes, typically likes to know what's unique about this next opponent. And looking at film, you had mentioned outside of their quarterback, just a lot of really disciplined players, but maybe what does that scheme look like for fans that maybe can't identify a scheme? Is this team going to be a little bit more unique to have to prep for in a sense, or maybe on both sides of the ball in that matter?
I think the uniqueness of preparation is the danger of the quarterback and how explosive he is. But they're a pretty traditional pro-style offense. They want to run the ball. They will have a little bit of zone read, a lot of inside zone. A lot of RPOs. Quarterback's really good at seeing the space out there and your defenders, whether they're trying to squeeze in on the run or play the RPO, and so they'll swing out some bubbles. They'll swing out a lot of hitches and slants on their inside run game. And then when they want to take their shots, it could be off of boot, and he's able to buy time and set up and throw something back across. Even on their drop back, he's so comfortable with just drifting back and buying time. Because his arm's so big, he can throw it over everybody.
Looking at Edmond Memorial, it will be the final home game of the year. We'll get to chat about that after our players segment, the importance of it being senior night just as well. We'll be back on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We'll have our players segment, and then we'll wrap things up for senior night.
Shields is now open at the Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, and we can't thank you enough for the warm welcome. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for everyone. Our passionate and knowledgeable Shields experts are excited to welcome you to explore thousands of brands and premium products. From our golf simulator, service shop, archery lanes, and more, we're ready to get you fitted with the best gear for you. We can't wait to see you at Shields.
Introducing QT Pay, the easiest way to transform every trip, every treat, and every gallon into instant savings every time you pay. All within the QT app. QT Pay. It just makes sense.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We now get a chance to sit down for our player segment. Guys, you're on both sides of the ball, but different sides of the ball at the end of the day. J.J. Brashears, as well as, of course, Hudson Lott. We've got our O-lineman, J.J. Brashears, and, of course, our safety, Hudson Lott, joining us today. Looking at you guys in particular, you guys are a unique talent each. I've had a chance to kind of watch this season go by, some adjustments made, things like that throughout the year, and you guys have been both really fun to watch as of late, especially. And just chat about being a part of BA with us and your experience being a Tiger on the football field. There's a big privilege with that, and I know you guys know that, but just chat with us a little bit about what's it been like being a Tiger. You guys are both juniors now.
I've been a Tiger for a couple of years now. I've always played football for only Broken Arrow. It's been a fun opportunity. I've only been here with Blankenship as the head man. It's been fun. I've played with a lot of people, met a lot of really good people through playing the sport. Been here for a couple of years now, breaking on the varsity level. So, yeah, it's been fun.
I've been playing football my whole life, for BA. It's been, very nice. It's a change once you get to varsity. It's a whole new perspective on football. You put a lot more time, dedication into the sport. Good coaching staff, good people, I'm surrounded by a lot of people that, I enjoy, and it's just a blessing to be here.
Yeah, coming up on, of course, what is the last home game of the season as well. Just dawn back on this home schedule as well, playing in front of all the fans. It's a privilege to get to play here at Broken Arrow. You guys get to play in front of great crowds as well. Just 1 week ago, the crowds just in the Tulsa market. You go to Union, you play in a tough environment like that. You guys get a chance to play in some of the best environments in football around the Oklahoma area. Just chat about how that's really grown you as a player, being able to play in front of that pressure and be a part of something big like that in the community.
Like you said, it's a really good environment to play in and all that. It's fun, especially when you have a lot of people coming to away games, like you said,
right?
A Union game, make it almost feel like a home game with how loud your sideline is, and it's really fun.
I think a big thing is just the pressure. This year starting first time brings on a lot of pressure, but you got to get used to that. The environment, it's big. Those student sections, they get loud.
They do, yeah.
But I think you just got to embrace it and work through it.
Just a couple of games left on the schedule, right? And so you've been able to kind of see your game as individuals in spring camp, of course, late summer camp, and then coming into the fall schedule. What's maybe something that you've noticed about yourselves that you've really grown in your game? You guys are coming up on your senior year next year. You're going to want to be at your peak, of course, by your senior year. But what's one thing you've really learned about your game in particular that's really helped you along the way? And you've grown in a lot, of course, offensive line, J.J. Brashears, that's a unique position that there's a lot of growth potential in. Same thing with safety, being able to track down routes, things like that. What is maybe the biggest thing for you guys individually?
Obviously, we're going to grow into as better players and be better at the sport, but I feel like as a big man, I feel like we're also seen as leaders in the trenches, so it's good I feel like I'm becoming more of a leader. I have more of a voice on the team. I try to do whatever I can to win and hope people can follow my footsteps and carry on a legacy after I leave BA and keep on just being better leaders, better football players. But yeah, I feel like I just grown more as a leader. Obviously, we're all going to grow as players though, more experience that we get. But
yeah, it's a big thing. I think leadership is something that everybody and every coach really relies on out of everybody on the staff, right? And so when you can see that kind of growth in yourself, that goes a long way, not just for your own individual game, but everybody around you. So I love that you pointed that out, Hudson. Of course, we've been able to see a lot of action out of you over the last few weeks, especially. Just talk about, of course, the same question of things you've seen out of yourself that have grown a lot.
I think, through practice, understanding 7-on-7, and just going through, the scout team helps a lot with routes, running the ball. I think Coach Holly, he definitely helps out with zone, through the zone, practice. It's just been helping a lot, understanding routes, route trees, knowing what to do in certain situations. It's just helped out a lot with me, so.
As you guys, and as you guys kind of wind down, the focus is, of course, the last two games of the season. Really, just the next one, right? Going 1-0 is everything for Coach Blankenship each week. If you can manage to do that, and as the season goes down, you get into kind of normal life again when you go back to school, and all of a sudden you're waking up and there's not a game to prep for. So after playoffs, whatever may happen down the stretch there as well. What's it like being a student here at BA for you guys? And I know everybody, especially during their season, if they're an athlete, that's all they care about, right? You got to get your grades done. You got to make sure that you're knocking that out, but that consumes your world in a sense. But what's life like for you guys being a student at BA, maybe outside of the game of football?
There's a lot. It's a big school in Oklahoma.
Yeah, no doubt.
A lot of people, but it's fun having an environment like this, especially when they all come to Friday night and watch us play and support us. It's especially when we're really doing good, but it's been fun.
I think school's a big thing. I can meet a new person every day.
Yeah.
I think you can find your group. Like everybody has their own group. Like you can find people that do the same stuff as you, enjoy the same stuff as you. I feel like it's a very good school. You can always find your clique.
Yeah, and just to point that out, of course, you get to kind of build those friendships in school outside of the game of football, typically through your class schedule, right? I mean, I look back when I was in high school, some of my best friends I happen to just have all the same classes as and things like that. Is there a class maybe that has really drawn your attention? And looking past maybe high school, maybe even past football, is there something that catches your eye at this age that you maybe want to do with your life, maybe past the BA, the doors, I guess you could say?
I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I feel like I just want to be a student. I f
And you could be undecided as well still, because I was undecided for a little while, but I was able to decide pretty quickly after that. But is it just maybe taking the journey as it is right now, or is there anything career-wise that you guys are really interested in?
Well, there's a lot of different unique opportunities and all that. I'm between being a football coach after school and all that, and we're a firefighter.
Oh, yeah. Well, they take a similar discipline, right?
Yeah.
No doubt.
I've been thinking about maybe sports medicine recently. It's a big one, caring for athletes, such as, people care for me. But other than that, I'm not very sure. So.
Yeah, hey, sports medicine, OSU sports medicine around this area is very, very popular as well. So a very good medical district. So just keep that in mind for sure as you go forward. But next game is Edmond Memorial. You guys are getting your prep already done for that, of course. Last home game of the year. Just maybe what are some things that you guys are keeping an eye on from your coaching staff and maybe as individuals about this next matchup, ways that your team can grow on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, and what's a big game here?
I feel like it's important to just make sure that we're doing our job. I feel like if we don't get out of our lane and just do us and do what we're supposed to do, especially on the O-line, because we're the foundation.
Everything starts with you guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just important that make sure we play hard, give it all, our all, then just do us.
Yeah, and on the defensive side?
I feel like understanding our assignments, where to line up. Our alignment is a big part. Maybe blitzes, different packages we carry. This quarterback, he has an arm, so, making sure we're deep enough, shallow enough, just different stuff. Alignment's a big thing, though, and just making sure we do our assignments.
Well, we're excited to be able to catch you guys, of course, in this next matchup against Edmond Memorial. I want to thank JJ Brashears and Hudson Lott for being on the show. That has been our player segment. You can catch these guys on Friday night, of course, against Edmond Memorial. Last home game of the season. We'll wrap things up here on Inside Tiger Football when we come back. This is Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we're devoted to improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends and neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
At Ascension St. John, you'll find advanced heart care, brain and spine care, and personalized cancer care. And we excel just as much in the things that can't be measured, listening more closely, caring more compassionately.
Welcome back for the final time this week on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Chance to look at the final home game of the season. It goes by fast, especially when the front side of your schedule might be relatively heavy on the home schedule as well. You just look up and all of a sudden, final time playing, of course, here on the campus of Broken Arrow High School, and at least for this year in the regular season, and talk about just how fast this season has gone by, truly, and then a really great opportunity for, unfortunately, distractions to be had with that, and just trying to make sure, especially as a senior, it's really all about them in a way, but it's all about the team and getting a victory, and there's a lot of focus to be had there.
It's the good kind of distraction,
right?
It's unique to me from homecoming, fall break. Some of those other things can really sneak up on you. Senior night is about these guys, and that's, when you get a group playing for one another, which is what I hope senior night always is, that can be a valuable tool. Season has gone by fast, and when you love the group that you're working with, that's to me when it really speeds up and goes by fast. And it's been one of those years. This group's unbelievable. These seniors are special. This is kind of my first group I've known since they were freshmen. And so that's a neat thing, watching those guys grow up and stick around through a lot of adversity. I mean, those guys are warriors, and they become unbelievable leaders.
I think it's noticeable for the underclassmen as well, senior night. I think it really kind of emphasizes the impact that those guys have had on them growing as athletes. They get to see them be in the spotlight a little bit, and they know that their turn's coming as well in that role, and they kind of get a firsthand look at what it's like to be there in the moment, to see all that hard work basically come to fruition in the moment of, hey, this is my last home game, and everything that I've worked towards, it accumulates right here, right now in a meaningful football game late in the season.
Yeah, and we're playing for the right to get another home game.
Yeah.
But this is the only one that's guaranteed. And I think the main thing that all those seniors every year will tell the underclassmen is don't blink. And it goes by so fast, and cherish it. Give it everything you have. They'll all have some variance in how they communicate that to the underclassmen, but I think the foundational message is that it goes fast, and all of a sudden that senior night's here and it hits you.
Yeah, a more specific question here is your senior group this year in particular. What does that senior group look like, in your opinion, in your eyes, and the impact that they've made on your program this year?
They are the group that has changed our culture. This is my fourth year, and that culture that you want to have, it's a vision, and it's articulated as best as the adults, the coaches can articulate it. But until a group takes it and runs with it and takes ownership of it and makes it their own, that's what I've been waiting for. This group, about this time last year, right after the season ended, they decided what BA football culture was going to be, and they took it and ran with it, and their legacy is going to be long-lasting.
Yeah, I think especially from your perspective, there's, of course, BA fans that watch this. There are, of course, players of yours that watch these episodes, things like that. But there's also parents of people that are considering getting their kids into football. And you look at what a senior is as a coach in your eyes, and all that hard work from just being a child to now almost a grown adult has accumulated to playing the game of football. Just your message to not only seniors trying to take advantage of the moment, but just your message to parents as well about getting their kid in this lovely game and making sure that by their senior year, when their kid's a senior, it's made a big impact on their life, whether it just grows them as a disciplined person or gives them an opportunity to play the game at a higher level.
That could be a dissertation. I mean, I'm so passionate about that part of football. We've got, you said, the moment, and these boys becoming men. We've got a sign above our door in our locker room says "Men of the Moment," and really, what we hope that these guys leave with is the ability to be men in the moment in life. Adversity is a guarantee, obviously in football, but adversity is a guarantee in life. And we hope that these guys are trained up they get that bad news from the doctor, they get that bad news from their employer, whatever life comes their way in a hard way, that they step into it and they lead. And I think football, with the right leadership, has this unique environment to accelerate that growth in manhood. And I think, culturally, that's not a popular topic, is masculinity and manhood, but I think it's critical. And I think football really provides an environment for that learning to take place.
I personally couldn't agree with you more as far as the side of masculinity. I think it's important for young men to learn how to be grown men at the end of the day. So I'm right there with you, and I think these parents and these players understand that's a message from you down to the core of what they need to be as athletes. You've had an opportunity in a unique way to be a part of the game of football past the high school level. Just kind of as we wrap up, remembering your own senior night, and then on top of that, remembering what the game of football at the high school level in particular did for you, being able to play at the level that you played at.
The neatest thing about high school football and then that senior night is, for the majority of the guys in that group, they're lifers. They're guys that you grew up with.
Yeah.
You played Little League with them. You played middle school with them. You did a lot of life and growing up together. And then it culminates right there at the end of the season. And for the most part, after that season, everybody kind of goes their own ways. They go to their other sport, or they go to their job out, or whatever it is. They switch to do 6 hour, and it's that team is never that team anymore. Collegiately, I had a senior night in college, and it's special, but it's not the same thing. It's not the group of guys that you grew up with like it was in high school.
Yep.
And it's we're going to talk this week a little bit about what alma mater means, and how special that is to have a place to go back to for a reunion, especially in this transfer era that we're in. I love that our guys are BA kids, and they take pride in that, and it means something to them. A lot of them, their parents went here, and we're going to love on that and celebrate that.
No doubt. Final message, of course, going into this week's game against Edmond Memorial to the fan base. Just your thoughts on what's upcoming here for BA football.
I think you're going to see our best football we've played all year. I'm highly optimistic about that. We had been trending completely in the right direction. We took a step back, but the kids are unbelievably resilient, unbelievably focused, and they know what's at stake and what's at hand and what they can go take and accomplish. And I think you're going to see our group go do that.
Well, thank you as always, head coach Josh Blankenship, to be a part of our show. Of course, it's Edmond Memorial this Friday night. Final home game, senior night for your BA Tigers. This has been an edition of Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We'll see you this week.